Okay, great. So we also have the option for Zoom for a chat feature. So if you don't feel comfortable asking your questions or making comments to the group, feel free to enter something in the chat. I will go ahead and start that. Okay. And that can be found on your controls under chat, and a box will pop up. So let's get started. My name is Callie Foster. I am the new VISTA program manager. We've had a bit of turnover here at Montana Campus Compact, so if you're a returning host site, you might remember Erin Barstow. I previously was the program coordinator for Montana Campus Compact, so I'm familiar with VISTA and our programming. I'm still learning the ropes here as the VISTA manager, but I'm pretty knowledgeable on the VISTA program as a whole. But if you have any questions throughout this webinar that I don't know the answer to, I am happy to exhaust all of my resources to find those answers and get you the information that you are looking for. I'd love to kind of go around and do introductions for each of you, because I think for some of you, I have never met you or talked to you on the phone, so it's important for me to know, exactly who you are and what host site you're with. So if someone would like to start, that would be great.
I'll start. I'm Nancy Smith, the operations manager for Great Falls LGBTQ Center in Great Falls.
Great, thank you.
Jason Moore with Hot Springs.
And I'm Frances DeForest. I'm a nurse in Hot Springs working with Jason.
Yeah, we represent the Kids Co-op.
Great, thanks Jason.
Hi, I'm Andrea Vernon, and I'm with the University of Montana and the Civic Engagement Office.
And I'm Jordan Lyons at the University of Montana, and I'm at the ASUM Renter Center and oversee the food pantry at UM.
Great, thank you everyone. So moving on, after introductions, we have a decent amount of VISTAs serving with us this year, either starting in July or August. So you can see that we have VISTAs in Missoula, Helena, Dillon, Kalispell, Bozeman, Hot Springs, and Great Falls. We are recruiting for our August class right now, so that list will get longer. That's just an overview of where we're going to be throughout the service year. All right, so Montana Campus Compact is a statewide coalition of colleges and university presidents who are committed to addressing community needs through the resources of higher education. Oh, we just got something in the chat. It says, hi Callie, I'm here too. I called in via phone and I think I might be muted. And that is, I think, Christine Miller with OCHI. And moving on to our VISTA programming, Montana Campus Compact VISTA members are placed in community organizations, public agencies, or college campuses to create and expand programs that build capacity and ultimately bring low-income individuals and communities out of poverty. So that is the main focus of the VISTA program with the Corporation for National Community Service. And the two takeaways out of that mission statement is building capacity within your organizations or your host sites and bringing low-income individuals and communities out of poverty. We want to make sure that we are focused on poverty and alleviating poverty. So here's a little bit of an organizational chart. So you can see at the very top is the Corporation for National and Community Service. They are our funder. There's three programs, AmeriCorps Senior Corps and the Social Innovation Fund. Under AmeriCorps is where we are, so there's NCCC, VISTA, and state and national grants. And VISTA stands for Volunteers in Service to America. And so we receive the funding through the Corporation for National Community Service. It gets funneled down to us, and then, well, it gets funneled into the VISTA program, then into our state office, which is in Helena right now, and then it goes into sponsoring organizations. So you can see the green little house right here is an intermediary, which is Montana Campus Compact, and that's our organization. And then it gets funneled into VISTA host sites. And then there's you, the sub-site supervisors. and then into the VISTA members. So you can kind of see how the chart flows down to your VISTA member. And I do want to say, I might cover it later in the webinar, but it's also kind of a chain of commands to follow from the bottom up. Your VISTA members will want to address host site concerns and questions with you. And then if you cannot answer that question, you'll want to come to us. And if we do not have the resources, we will then contact someone with our state office in CNCS. So you can follow it as a funding source from the way down, and then a chain of command is from member moving up. Okay, so a little bit of a VISTA overview. Like I said, the goal is to help alleviate poverty. Members serve on a full-time basis, so 24/7. This is not just a 9-to-5 job. We want our VISTAs to understand that they are always in service and they are always representing AmeriCorps VISTA, our office, and their host site. Host site provides day-to-day supervision, provides supplies, equipment, and training. And when we say supplies, we expect our VISTA members to have a desk, access to a computer, and a phone. And then certain trainings, you will receive guidance for an on-site training, and it takes about 3 weeks. And we expect our host site supervisors to conduct this 3-week training to get your VISTAs acclimated to your host site, your organization, and the community. Your project must build capacity and focus on indirect service. There are restrictions there with the type of service that your VISTA can be engaging in, and we want to make sure that it is to build the capacity of your organization and not serving with direct beneficiaries. VISTA programs need to align with our program priorities, which are education and veterans. And the service terms of this year are July 8th, which is this coming Monday, through July 6th of 2020. And this service term is the one that applies to all of you that are on this webinar right now. And then we have a cohort coming in on August 19th through August 17th. You can see with my little note, I wrote that this service term is during a leap year. So that's why the service term days of 365 days don't match up there, but it's because February will have that extra day. And cost share. So if you are an affiliate of Montana Campus Compact, it's $6,250, and non-affiliates are $8,350 per member. And we will be invoicing you on either a schedule or in full. You would have discussed or disclosed that information on your MOU of how you would like to be invoiced. So look for that as well. Excuse me. Campus community partnerships are vital to the mission of Montana Campus Compact, and they improve community life and educate students for civic and social responsibility. They address community needs utilizing the resources of higher education, and they offer campuses, schools, and organizations the opportunity to build sustainable infrastructure to alleviate poverty by leveraging resources like student volunteers and faculty research. So that is why during the application, we have you identify a campus partner to work with throughout the year. And these are, like I said, they're vital to us and they're really important. So we want that strong partnership to be there throughout the year. And we will be checking in with you throughout the year to discuss and see how we can help strengthen this partnership, or to just check in to see what your successes and challenges are. Okay, so each VISTA receives a VISTA assignment description, which is we call a VAD throughout the year. So during your application, you had to identify objectives and member activities. And so we take those identified member activities and objectives, and we turn them into a VAD, which you could also think of as like a project or a position description, sort of like with every job that you have, you get that position description. It describes the VISTA's role, including the overarching goal of the project, and it also outlines specific objectives and activities for members' service year. It also includes the specific CNCS performance measures that your VISTA will report on, and they will report on those every month throughout their service term. And we want to make sure that during your on-site orientation with your member that you are reviewing this VAD with them during their first week of service, so you and the member understand exactly what your goals are and what you're working towards throughout the year. All right, so getting into the fun stuff of compliance. So with the VISTA member, they will have to do monthly reporting via a Google form that our VISTA leader will send out every month. They will need to submit monthly work plans as well as a daily activity log. The activity log, they do not have to necessarily report to us every month, but it is important that you are reviewing this activity log with your VISTA member and signing off on it every month. And these activity logs need to stay on site for 7 years for auditing purposes. So this is not something that you will submit to us, but it is something that you will need to complete monthly with your service member. Host site supervisors, so that means you'll have to sign these activity logs monthly, like I mentioned. You'll review the monthly reports and work plans, so to make sure that you and your VISTA are on the same page. And then it is the host site supervisor's responsibility to submit VISTA personal and medical days. We will be providing you a monthly Google form that you'll have access to, and you'll want to make sure every month to submit those personal and medical days. There's also an end of term impact report that you will need to complete with your VISTA next year, sometime in June, and we will send that out next year with outlining of exactly what we want in that impact report. And we expect you and your service member to work together on that impact report. And then there is a biannual Montana Campus Compact staff site visit. So myself and our incoming VISTA leader will be coming to your host site in the fall of 2019, most likely in October or November, depending on how weather is. And then in the spring, I'm sorry, that should say 2020. In the spring of 2020, we will either be coming in person or via webinar to do a similar site check-in. Okay, so getting into workly month plans. VISTAs create monthly work plans to outline SMART goals for the month. And SMART, we just want them to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. And your VISTA will work with our VISTA leader to submit this work plan every month. And we would like you to review your work plan with your VISTA every month as well, so you can stay on the same page and know exactly what they're working on, so you can reach those goals together. So you can see at the bottom of this page the daily activity logs. It goes per week on the form, and your member will receive enough of these at our orientation next week for the entire year. And we do expect them to complete them. We don't need a really lengthy narrative of what they did, but maybe bullet points of what they did pertaining to their VAD and their project. Like I said, it'll log hours, activities, personal and medical leave. And each month we will need you to sign off on these activity logs. And they must stay on site for 7 years. So we expect you to hold on to those. And you can either keep them physically or digitally. Okay, so getting into personal and medical leave. So each VISTA receives 10 personal leave days and 10 medical leave days. 1 week of emergency leave for death or critical illness in immediate family members is available, and the Corporation for National and Community Service will pay for round-trip transportation. And when this comes up, or if it comes up, we would like your member to communicate with our office, because we can start that process with CNCS. And it is important that your member contact us as soon as possible, because we need to make sure that we can get round-trip transportation secured in a timely manner. National holidays, we expect your VISTA to only observe the holidays that the host site observes. So if you have a holiday calendar, please share that with your VISTA and make sure that they are not coming in on holidays that you observe. And it is your responsibility to ensure your VISTA follows these guidelines. If we have members that are submitting more than 10 personal days or 10 medical leave days, we will have to have a conversation with you and the VISTA member to make sure that we get that all squared away and figured out. But please make sure that you are tracking these internally at your host site, as well as relaying this information to us. Okay, so here is an example of the Google form to be completed each month. It will be sent out to you if it hasn't already, and you will just fill it out. It is a Google form to be completed, and it is sent to us with a timestamp. So once you hit submit, you don't have to do anything else. Google sends it to us directly. Okay, so outside employment and education. VISTAs are allowed to engage in outside employment and education as long as it does not interfere with their VISTA service. So with outside employment, it needs to be pre-approved by the host site, Montana Campus Compact, and our state office. There are some restrictions here. Your host site cannot have your member work on a separate position within your organization. They are allowed to work, say, at like a local coffee shop or a grocery store or wherever they decide to work. But like I said, employment cannot interfere with designated service duties as determined by the supervisor. So you would want it to be weekend work or evening work. In terms of educational courses, full-time enrollment is prohibited, because that would interfere too much with VISTA service. But part-time enrollment is allowed, but must be approved by you, our office, and the state office. And like I said, courses cannot interfere with service duties as determined by the supervisor. So it is important that if your member is engaging in employment and education outside of service, that it is approved by you, us, and our state office. Okay, so there are prohibited activities with all AmeriCorps members, and they include political engagement, religious activities, union organizing, providing abortion services or referrals, alcohol consumption, or anything that poses a safety risk. These activities are, some of them are allowed outside of service, but what we typically say for members is that if they are engaging in political engagement and religious activities and such, that they are doing it on their own time, in their own clothing, and on their own device. So we want to make sure that they are not engaging in these activities while they are serving. So if they're at your host site on a computer engaging in political activity, that is a big no-no. We want to make sure that it is, once they leave your host site, that they are doing it again on their own time, in their own clothing, and on their own devices. So it looks like we got a question from Andrea. Can members do service-related census, education, and awareness? That is a good question, Andrea, and I'm not 100% sure of what the answer is. I do not believe that census, education, and awareness is political engagement. So I want to say yes, but I believe we should talk about this outside of this webinar and we can figure it out. Great. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, I will move on. Okay, so helping your VISTA member. What can supervisors do to support a VISTA member? So a lot of these VISTA members are coming in from outside of Montana, and they are brand new to the climate, the people, the location, everything about Montana. So it can be a little scary for them, and it makes them feel really welcomed and supported when their supervisors can support them in any way possible. So we ask you to assist in locating housing. You are plugged into these communities that your member is serving in, so if you have any sort of referrals or tips to give them, please do that. So you can also provide food or gifts, no cash or gift cards, but if you decide that you want to get them a welcome basket of food or a shirt, or if your organization has jackets in the winter with a little logo on it, please provide them something like that because it makes them feel included and appreciated. So also promotional items, and then also provide recognition. You know, if you don't have, you know, a lot of money or funding to dump into gifts or food, just providing them some sort of recognition. So when I was a service member, my host site included me in their newsletter one month with my picture and just a really nice welcome. So including something like that would be really great. And note, like I said, support offered does not violate VISTA's legislation that mandates VISTA must, to the maximum extent practical, make a commitment to live among and at the economic level of the people served. Support is offered and available equally to all VISTA members at a site. Okay, and if you have any questions about this, of like what you can provide your VISTA member, please just let me know and we can figure it out together. All right, so VISTA training. So State and Montana Campus Compact PSO. PSO stands for Pre-Service Orientation. That is what your member will be doing Monday, July 8th through the 10th. And so we provide them with appropriate training of exactly what it means to be a VISTA member, how to serve those in poverty, and all sorts of landscapes of Montana, and what it means to serve in Montana. It would be really great if you had a conversation about them once they get to your host site to see exactly what they learned, or if they have any questions about your host site that they may have heard of at the orientation. And then they're also going to engage in on-site orientation and training, and that's with you, the host site. There will be guidance sent out to review with them, but it usually takes place during the first 3 weeks of service, and that's just to get them oriented with the community and the host site and all the staff and everyone involved in the project. Okay, so getting further into the on-site orientation and training, we call it an OSOT. So it's an orientation plan for VISTA's first 3 weeks in the office or on the service site. The purpose is to establish an effective working relationships between a VISTA and the supervisor, the site staff, and the community. During week 1, we expect your VISTA member to get to know your organization and your community. Week 2, we expect them to get to know your community, the project, and the campus partner. It's really important that your VISTA is reaching out to your campus partner within the first 3 weeks of the service to get that relationship going and the partnership built so they can move forward throughout their service and strengthen that relationship. And then 3 weeks, the journey begins, work plan development, and the project getting started, and exactly what you would like them to do to get started with. And then during this 3-week period, we do expect you, again, to review the VAD. Great. Site supervisor influence. So this is where you come in. Our strongest sites have supervisors who take responsibility for the VISTA project, communicate regularly, and take time to meet. We've seen the most success with VISTAs and projects with supervisors that engage in a weekly meeting, in a weekly check-in. And it doesn't have to be this really formal thing, but we've seen that our members really feel appreciated when there is regular check-in and regular communication. Invest in the VISTA's professional development. A lot of these VISTAs are right out of college and very green to the professional workforce. And it's important for them to understand that this is professional development, and that's where you can come in to make sure that you're investing in them as people and VISTAs. Mentor the VISTA. Like I said, they're really green to things, or some of them at least. So it's really, really important that you do a little bit of coaching with them. And then appreciate the purpose of a VISTA. We want to make sure that you don't just view this as, you know, although it is temporary, that it's this temporary thing and that you don't have to invest in them and appreciate them. We want them to feel recognized and appreciated in their service because they are taking a year out of their life to do this service, you know, and practically living on the poverty line. So they're going to face a lot of hardships and challenges throughout this year. So we want to make sure that they feel appreciated with this service. Okay, and best practices for supervision. Do expect to spend 5 to 10% of your per week of your time with this VISTA member and helping guide them into this project, making sure that you're communicating with them. Help members assimilate into community and work environment. You know, if you have some really great people that you work with, make sure that you're connecting your VISTA member to these people. Like I said, member may require some professional guidance, and this doesn't mean that they're going to come in and be completely incompetent, but like I said, they're green. They might need a little bit of guidance, and when you notice that they may need some help on things, please insert yourself. It looks like Nancy asked, where is the training done? Nancy, are you asking about our pre-service orientation or the OSAT training? So pre-service orientation will be done here at the University of Montana, where our office is. We have them staying in dorms here and completing the training here in our office at the Davidson Honors College. We have some classrooms and some really great speakers that are coming in to facilitate the training. All right. Moving on to treat members as staff. We understand that they are not permanent staff, but we would like you to treat them as such. Put them on your organizational chart. Make sure that if you have photos of your staff members on your website, add them there too. It just goes back into making sure that they feel appreciated, so they feel recognized and they can do the best work as possible. And if you're interested in getting into what is your supervision style, nationalservice.gov has some really great resources, as well as vistacampus.gov. They have some great resources for you to figure out exactly what your supervision style and allow you to understand that there are different supervision styles. And you might have to tweak a little bit to make sure that your member feels appreciated and that your working styles can mesh well and you can get the project done as successful as possible. Okay, Andrea asked, is there a template you can provide to help us coordinate and schedule out the OSAT? Yes, there is a template that we will give to your member, and I will make sure that I email it out to all host site supervisors after this training as well. Okay, so like I mentioned, Vista Campus is a great place to find resources. There is the VISTA Supervisor Manual, as well as the Member Handbook and webinars. On-site orientation and training, there's a Supervisor Q&A that is there. And then I'm not sure what this date is. I think I meant to delete it. I'm sorry, it's there. But I believe there is a on-site orientation and training webinar that will be taking place. And once I find out those dates, I will send it out to you. And also, what I wanted to say is that your member also has access to these resources, such as the Supervisor Manual and the Member Handbook. We are going to provide them a direct link to the handbook during our pre-service orientation, so they can receive all of the policies, the procedures, and the information that they will need. We often receive a lot of questions to our office from the handbook, or that are answered in the handbook. So if you have time, please read through the member handbook too, because your VISTA may be coming to you first, and if you remember that you saw it in the handbook, you could refer them to it. Okay, so I figured we could go around a little bit and see, you know, if any of you had ideas on how you will orient your VISTA to your community, organization, and project. So would anyone like to start? If you've already been thinking about how you're going to orient your member, or if you haven't really put much thought into it, maybe you can get some good ideas from others in this webinar.
Hi, sure. I'm sorry. First, we're working in such a small town here in Hot Springs. A lot of people who are involved in different organizations center around our local organic market, and we're going to start with like kind of a welcome, maybe breakfast or afternoon treat, and when everyone in town kind of gathers there naturally anyway, as well as kind of advertise it and introducing our VISTA students to all of the other community members that are involved in other organizations, and probably just take them around personally to different meetings, maybe to the Chamber of Commerce meeting and to the Senior Center. Everything is kind of concentrated in one area, so it makes it kind of easy here in Hot Springs for that.
Great.
So that's one of the ways we're going to get started, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Anyone else?
Since our member will be here at the University of Montana campus, one thing we've done in the past is put together a scavenger hunt to help people just locate important places, important parts of the campus. I might extend that out to the perimeter, the neighborhood around campus, since there's some restaurants and other fun things around there. So I just thought it'd be a good way to get them acclimated with the weather being nice. They can get used to the campus resources and facilities.
Great.
This is Christine Kelly, and I have a little bit of a plan for orienting our VISTA to our office, and then not the first week, but her second week, we'll have a call with the task force that she'll be working on, and so I'll introduce her there, and she'll that will be like a good starting place for her. And then we work pretty closely with the Montana Nonprofit Association on a couple projects, and there's a VISTA there and some other VISTAs that we know that we were just going to kind of informally connect her with. So that's sort of our general plan.
Great. That sounds amazing.
So I also have a list of people I want my VISTA to meet as she's getting started, and but I also have like a lot of the research and like materials that she can have read through or have for her reference that are kind of about like the what the evidence tells us about our project and the problem that we're tackling and things like that.
Great. Would anyone else like to share?
I liked your idea of doing a welcome basket. Do you have experience with other sites that have done this? I'm just thinking like of some of our team member, like other partners on campus, colleagues that will be working closely with this VISTA. Is it appropriate to kind of reach out to them now and say, hey, would you mind getting a $10 gift certificate to the grocery store or something like that? What's your experience with sites doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. Although gift certificates are considered one of the things that we're not allowed to provide to our members, I do believe like if you, I know a member in Bozeman has been going grocery shopping with their site supervisor a few times this year. So you could always plan an outing to kind of orient them to the location of where the grocery store is and maybe provide them a gift that way in the form of food.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's see. The next thing I wanted to talk about was highlighting and acknowledging national service. We love it when host sites and members share great stories and photos of the VISTA members and the work with MTCC and the community. Typically, when these stories come through our office, we funnel them up to CNCS, and they also love to see these stories. So if you have an event and your member is recruiting volunteers or training volunteers, it would be really great to take a couple photos. Or if there is a really great story of capacity building that your member created, or if they created new curriculum or a new event, share that story. Photos don't have to be the only way that you highlight and acknowledge national service. If you have a blog that your organization completes every week or every month, have your VISTA highlight something that they've been working on within your blog. Also within newsletters or press releases. These are really great ways to just highlight national service as a whole and VISTA as well as your organization. So I think when we highlight and acknowledge national service, everyone is acknowledged and highlighted. So yeah, please take part in photos and get your member to start, thinking about exactly what they're working on and what the final project is, and how they're going to sustain those projects, and have them write about it. We love to see that sort of thing. And feel free to send it to us, and we will funnel it to anyone that we think it's appropriate to. Okay, so getting into the timeline of the first few weeks. So the state and Montana Campus Compact PSO, like I mentioned, will take place next week, Monday through Wednesday, July 8th through the 10th. Your VISTA's first day at your site is July 11th, so that will be Thursday of next week. So please plan for them to show up that day. On-site orientation will take place the first 3 weeks of their service, which is July 11th through the 26th. And then mid-August, there's going to be a site supervisor check-in call from myself. And this is just where we'll touch base on how things are going and how you see things working out with your VISTA. If there's any sort of challenges that you have come up with, we'd love to address it then, because what we've seen the most success with is if you communicate early, we can address these challenges together. Collaborative problem solving is something that we would really like to engage in here. So it's really important during this call that you're thinking about how we can make this partnership more successful. And the first VISTA monthly webinar call will take place on July 18th at 10 a.m. So we call these solidarity meetings that all of our VISTAs, it's a mandatory meeting once a month. It will be the third Thursday of every month at 10 a.m. And it's an hour long, and it is facilitated by our VISTA leader. And our VISTA leader is a VISTA member that has served with us the year prior, and so they are the frontline person for member support. So they spend an hour every month all together over webinar, or if they are local to Missoula, they can come into our office and engage that way. And they go over a range of topics from like challenges to certain resources in different areas of Montana or at host sites. Is also just a way for the cohort to bond together. Since they're not physically together, they can see their faces, talk to each other, and make sure that they're building those relationships and that networking as a cohort. So like I said, the first one is July 18th at 10 a.m. And they will all take place the third Thursday of each month. And they are mandatory. Okay, so that's all I have for you today. I will be sending out these slides, the recording, the chat transcript, and a few other resources pertaining to policies, responsibilities, and such later today or on Friday. So please look for that. And if anyone has any questions right now, I do not mind staying on for a few minutes or however long it takes to answer your questions. I've also included my contact information. That is my office phone number and my Montana Campus Compact email.
I got a quick question.
Okay.
So when are we going to see our VISTA on July 11th, and should we give them some directions or instructions on where to meet?
Yes, yes, that would be a really good idea, to contact them either through email or over the phone with your exact address and where to go.
Okay, we'll reach out. Thank you.
Okay, great. Does anyone else have any questions? I can't hear you, Christine, I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry, thanks. So I was just wondering about travel and if VISTAs can travel like out of town as part of their service, like if we go to one of the campuses, and then if they do travel, like how do we do, like would they be kind of fall into the category of like our agency's non-employee travel, or like how does that work?
Yes. So if your member is traveling related to, so we separated out, your member will have to engage in-person training with us throughout the year, and we will cover travel forms. We call them radders here, and they are reimbursed for mileage and per diem. Whereas if they are traveling for your host site and the project, you need to cover the travel reimbursement or whatever it entails with your policy. So follow your policy if they are traveling for your project, and then throughout the year we require them to be in person, and they will be covered, their travel will be covered through our office.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Also, I should have mentioned that your member does receive a relocation allowance on their first day of service. So their travel to our office from wherever they are moving from is covered in that relocation allowance. Okay, well, if no one else has any, oh, did I hear someone have a question?
So yeah, Kelly, this is Christine again. So next Thursday, I mean, I've been in touch with our member, you know, over the last month or so a little bit. I'm just wondering, like, you know, how are you going to talk to them about like what that first day is going to be like? Are you giving them any kind of context, or can I do that with our member?
We do the pre-service orientation, but we do expect our host sites to have a plan in place for their first day of service. So we kind of leave that up to our host sites because we understand that all host sites are different.
Sure. Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I just wondered if like part of the pre-service orientation was like talking to them about what that first day might be, and if you were doing that, then I would, you know, kind of follow your lead on that. But if you aren't doing that, then I'll just be in touch with Claudia, who's our member, about kind of what my plan is for her.
Yeah, we'd like you to be in contact with your member of exactly what your plan is, what time that you would like them to show up, and then we do expect you to look over that on-site orientation and address what we've outlined there, but you can also kind of tailor it to what your needs are for the first 3 weeks, and then just kind of move into what the project entails after those first 3 weeks.
Great.
Okay. And if you have any more questions, we can discuss this over the phone too.
Okay.
At a
Great.
later time. Okay.
Do you know if the
oh, go ahead, Jason.
do you know if the host sites are going to be able to collaborate at some point and learn a little bit about each other's projects?
I think if that is an interest of each host site supervisor, we could definitely plan something like that. Your members will be talking to each other. We do have that solidarity meeting, as well as we do hope that they form friendships with each other and talk about what their projects are. But if I could definitely send out a survey to see which host site supervisors are interested in collaborating together, and we could definitely get that going.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. You know, there's a couple other vistas in the area. One's coming out of SKC, and the other one is coming out of with Julie Fleck and mentoring, Friends Forever Mentoring. And I know that Friends Forever Mentoring Vista is going to be gone, but she really wanted to meet with our Vista member just to pass along information, and she's working on very similar. Courtney is her name. You probably know Courtney.
Mm-hmm. Courtney Olson. Yeah, I think if your Vista and Courtney are interested in linking up, we definitely encourage that sort of thing. We probably will not facilitate that engagement, but if you are close to those other host sites, I think it'd be really great to give your Vista member that contact information so they can reach out on their own and kind of see ways that they can collaborate as well.
Okay, that's kind of what I was planning. So
okay.
We planned on being a little more closely connected with SKC because they were our partner in this compact, or partner. So yeah, we're definitely very well connected with the SKC. I'm just forgetting his name off the top of my head. But
Jonathan?
Yeah, that's Dr. Richter, but what's his first name? It's the Vista member that's there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Dayton Smith.
Dayton. Is Dayton? Yeah, Dayton's gone, I think.
Raymond Rodriguez.
So yeah, we'll collaborate with them for sure.
Okay. You let me know if I can be any sort of help in that.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. All right, so I think if that's all we have, I will sign off. Please look for that email from me, and I just want to let you know that I am always here, so if you have any questions or concerns, please let me know, and let's make sure that we are addressing questions and concerns early on, and make sure that we are collaboratively problem solving. Well, yeah, of course. Thank you everyone for being here today. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to attend this webinar. And like I said, if you have any questions, please let me know.
All right.
Thanks, Callie.
Of course, have a great day. Bye.
You too.
I'll see you later.